The Swedish government baffled and concerned by President Trump falsely suggesting there was an immigration-related security incident in Sweden. The president saying Sunday his comment was based upon a TV segment he watched over on Fox News. So how is all of this playing out diplomatically? Joining me now, Bill Richardson, the former Democratic governor of New Mexico, former ambassador to the United Nations, and former energy secretary. Mr. Ambassador, great to see you. Good morning.
Thank you, Brooke.
So let's get right to exactly what the president said over the weekend that has caused this entire kerfuffle. Here it was.
You look at what's happening in Germany. You look at what's happening last night in Sweden. Sweden. Who would believe this? Sweden. They took in large numbers. They're having problems like they never thought possible.
So that was Saturday. Let's fast forward to the Trump tweet. This is what he says, quote, "My statement as to what's happening in Sweden was in reference to a story that was broadcast on Fox News concerning immigrants in Sweden." Now, Mr. Ambassador, you can make the argument there is a connection between refugee intake and a crime uptick. Do you think that it's a question of interpretation here, or do you think the president was playing loose with his facts?
Well, I believe the president was playing loose with his facts, and most disturbingly, he's getting his information from late-night television instead of from his national security team, intelligence briefing. I mean, this was factually wrong. There have been no terrorist incidents in Sweden since 2013, when Sweden opened up its borders to refugees, asylum seekers. And this is another country that we've now insulted, joining Australia, Mexico, Canada, the 11 countries that have Trans-Pacific Partnership, that we abolished the treaty with them, the president and executive order. And now probably General Mattis, who's doing a good job, is going around trying to clean up some of the messes that we're creating. I mean, this is very disturbing because Sweden is also a great ally of the United States. Sweden, Denmark, Norway, the Nordic countries, they participate in international peacekeeping and climate change. You know, so this is a major blunder and a bad thing to happen for our president to be doing this.
I want you to explain to me, as you are a veteran in the world of diplomacy, you tell me why words matter.
Well, words matter, first of all, because it's the president of the United States. You know, the president is the leader of the free world, technically the leader of NATO. The European Union is a partner to the United States. We have a lot of cooperative relationships with Nordic countries. And, you know, when the president says something, it matters. As a candidate, it matters less, but now he's saying it as president. And the danger is that the president seems to just be speaking to his narrow base, the base that elected him, the 38% approval rating that he has. But now he's president of all the people, but he's also the leader of the free world, of the international community. So words matter. Look what's going to happen to tourism in Sweden. Look what's going to happen to that country, explaining that this is just something that never occurred. And this is something that right now the former Prime Minister, Carl Bildt, who I know, a foreign minister also.
Right. What is he smoking was his tweet.
Of the United States. Yeah, I mean, right. he's a man that has a great background at pro-U.S. You know, so this is very, very disturbing.
Okay, you mentioned Secretary Mattis in Iraq, and your word was something to the effect of, you know, doing cleanup. You know, the vice president has been in Munich for this Munich Security Conference in Germany, and his job, in part there, was to assure our European allies. This is what the vice president said.
The United States has been faithful to Europe for generations, and we will keep the faith that drove our forefathers to sacrifice so much in defense of our shared heritage. We share a past, and after all we've been through, we share a future. Today, tomorrow, and every day hence, be confident that the United States is now and will always be your greatest ally.
How do you do, Mr. Ambassador? How reassuring was he for our friends over there?
Well, he was partially reassuring, and I think the vice president is doing a good job reassuring that we are going to be active with NATO. But what he did not say was, what about the European Union? There are 28 countries there. We say to Britain, good that you got out of the European Union. He said nothing about still working with the European Union, 28 countries, mainly economic issues, integration issues. So Europe is still wondering where we are. What does it mean also with NATO? Are we not going to be active with NATO if NATO doesn't pay the 2%, which they should? Each NATO country, like Germany, they're at 1.3%. They should pay 2%. And then lastly, what are we going to do about Russia? I mean, are we going to keep the sanctions on? They're European sanctions. Are we going to loosen them? What are we going to do in Ukraine? So the Europeans are partially reassured, but they're still wondering where we stand with them. Okay, are we with Europe or not?
Sure. Partial reassurance is not an entire reassurance. I hear you loud and clear. Before I let you go, I just had to ask, just with your knowledge of North Korea, this death investigation, you know, in Malaysia, the estranged half-brother of the leader of North Korea. We know that Kim Jong-un had his uncle taken out a year ago, and now all these questions swirling is, did he put a hit on his half-brother? What do you think?
Well, it looks like it, but you can't confirm anything. I think that is a pattern in North Korea. Go after your enemies in a very deathly way. But at the same time, there is a little bit of good news. China seems to be canceling imports of coal from North Korea. I mean, that is, if they do that, they announced it, that is serious because there were some loopholes and we need China. You know, my last point on North Korea, I've been trying to get the White House to listen to me on working together to get this kid, Otto Warmby, out of North Korea, an American detained there. And, you know, I call the White House, nobody answers, nobody responds. They don't want to see me, maybe because I'm a Democrat. But this is a humanitarian issue that could open up a relationship with North Korea that we don't have, so that they stop some of these ballistic missile tests and nuclear weapons tests.
Okay, well, let us know when they pick up the phone, and we'll be in touch with you. Ambassador Bill Richardson, always a pleasure. Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Chris.
All right, the Swedes are not amused by President Trump's terror comments. So what is the actual